Hey guys, it's Chantal Lachey. So I am back with another message. Yeah, so this is in regards to my Instagram post on the Chosen by Chantal Lachey Instagram page that I just posted about, protect, penetration, and provide. The 3 P's. PPP. Oh my gosh, like the PPP loan. Oh my gosh, come on. The PPPs that, all men should have, when it comes to having a great woman and keeping a great healthy relationship, but it all depends, because some women rather play that masculine role. I would rather not, but when you're a single mom, you have to be the PPP. And whenever you're, let's just say, messing with a more feminine man, or you are maybe choosing to be with a man with less than you have to offer, or less than your career pays, you have to be the PPP, and so teach his own. If that's what a woman chooses to be or do, that's perfectly fine. That's up to her. She can be the PPP loan, and so but in this case, it's a PPP. I would consider it a PPP loan, because, I am loaning you my body, soul, and my everything, to death do us part, unless we, split apart, before then. So, that's pretty cool. But, what I have to say about that is, that video wasn't to say, oh, younger ladies don't date an older man, because if you choose to be 30 and date a 40, or 30 something and date a 50, however you do it, that is up to you. That's your personal choice. I mean, we can date whatever we would like in this, in this world. It's our life, our opportunity, our decision, and so more power to you. But what I am saying is, and this doesn't matter if they're younger or older or not, try not to never, ever, get in a relationship with a man that is coming right out of a relationship. Like, if he's like freshly single, 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 month, no, and that even goes for a woman. You don't know if she's gonna go back. You don't know if he's gonna go back. Yes, they could go back at some point if y'all break up, especially if it's a baby daddy, baby mama, because they've been with them forever, or actually love each other, and they came to that conclusion, however it go down, But I'm gonna tell you one thing, I ain't gonna get with no good man just to get with no good man, just to go back to where I came from. You know what I mean? I'm in it for the long run. I'm not doing that. But you never know what God has for you. But yeah, so what I'm saying is, don't do that. You don't want to be the, what do you call that? The replacement, if that makes sense. Like the placeholder, not the replacement, but the replaceholder, because men, what I've noticed, they need a placeholder. Once they get out of a relationship with one woman, they need a placeholder to place their mind, to place their confidence, in a, in a great space for them, I say, so that they can, get their man back, get their, especially if they love the lady, you know what I mean? Versus as women, we can stay single for quite some time. It's like, girl, no, I just came out of this. I need to stay single and, feel myself out and everything, That's kind of like me. It's like, girl, I know it's been some time, but it's like, I really need to, like, heal myself, feel myself, learn myself again. I need to know that I can do this life, do these finances, do everything by myself. I need to know, regardless, because I ain't letting nothing in but a baller shot caller with some good old drink lying and a nice head on his shoulders that believe in Jesus Christ. But yeah, so we already know he gonna be the bomb. you know, if I let them come on in and, you know, save the day. But, you know, yeah, but still, I need to know, you know, because anything can happen in a relationship. You know, I need to know, I need to get my jigger jagger on. You know, I need to know, like, okay, girl, you can do this without a man, you know. You can live without a man. You can provide without a man. You can, several things, you know. Because the last thing I want to be is without a man. And I can't put a roof over my kid's head. You know, I don't know how to make it in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom studio, you know, hotel if I have to for now, while I, you know, work on my credit and get my, you know, whatever. I need to know that I can start a business from scratch, that I can pick up a job, and, you know, I need to know that I can handle this life on my own. You know, that's just like, you know, before you become wealthy, you know, you want to know that you can handle this life on your own before the wealth, before the invention takes off, before the label takes off. You know, you want to know that you can provide, you can keep your credit good, you can keep a car, you can keep food in your refrigerator. You know, you can keep your kids with school clothes and school book packs and shoes on their feet and all this stuff. You know, you may not be able to provide the whole $1,000 a piece or $800 a piece or $600 a piece at one whop like you and daddy or you and hubby was doing together. You know, but you can provide a couple hundred for each child to be able to go get some school shop. When I was a kid, my mama brought us a backpack and some school supplies, and she gave us all $100 a piece. We better had, I was just telling my kids that we better had what? We better had thought smart with them $100, okay? Back in the day, they had a Shoe Land. I don't know if they still around. I hadn't seen them in a long time. But back in the day, they was the $10.99 store. And when they first came out, I want to say they was like $7.99 or $8.99. And when they shoes used to go on sale, they was like $5, something like that. I used to go in there and get me like 2-3 pair of shoes. Like, had me some shoes for school. Then spend the rest of my money on Rainbow. Or there were some other little stores. You know, my mama didn't too much like us going to the thrift store. She didn't, you know, she's like, if y'all want to, you know, but, you know, it was like, she'd rather us had got our stuff brand new. So it was like, more so of like Walmart or Rainbow, you know, something like that. Boom, I had me, you know, everything was cheaper back then. So I had me a bunch of clothes, 2-3 pair of shoes. I was grateful for my $100, okay? And I might have $20-$30 left over, or, you know, maybe even more than that for me crocheting or braiding hair up in school, or, you know, whatever. So selling candy, selling phones, whatever I made the money off of, you know, of course legally, you know, but yeah, it was just like, that's all I had. But these kids nowadays, they getting $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a piece. Mama give you $300, daddy give you $300. Mama give you $500, daddy give you $500. You know, like, what? Where did this? I've never had that before, you know. And so, but yeah, because you don't, like, I would get back to what we were saying, yeah, because you don't want to be that placeholder girl. You just don't. You know, that's a mental toll. That's a confidence toll. That's a stress toll. You basically picking up that man's stress and taking it in, and he leaving off with your power. You stop doing your hair. You stop getting your nails and toes done. You stop. It's just like a man who basically stayed with you for all these years because of your capabilities. You know, because you picked him up off the street like a stray on the street, because all he knew was trap. And, you know, you got your shit together, and you showing him how to do it, and doing his credit, doing his whatever, his everything, his resumes, his taxes, his everything. As soon as he get the game plan from you, he run off. Or he start treating you some kind of way so you can run off, or run off with the kids and this, that, and the other, you know. And you like, I know I did not take your stanky foot, yellow teeth, duck mouth. You know, you got so many names to call him, but you just call on God and say, Lord, show me your way. But yeah, okay. So, you know, you could be any age, but at the same time, you know, it's just like, you know, especially you young ladies, you know, because we got to teach these men a lesson. It's like, no, you know, because seriously, you just because, and then, you know, because when you're young, you think that stuff cute. I you know, just seen it happen too many times in life. You like, yeah, I'm younger, he older, you know, he just left his wife for me, you know, chasing young coochie, but then he go right back to the wife. He go right back to the wife, girl. He just want to humiliate her, take advantage of her because she letting him, and she gonna go back to him anyway, and he know that, and freak on some young coochie, okay? And so it's like, girl, no, okay? That don't mean, you know, you can't date an old man if you don't want to, but give some time and space. And they go for any age, but especially if you're younger than him, you know? Make sure he ain't cheating on his wife for you. Make sure he ain't, you know, whatever the case may be. I mean, if you're getting your money and you're getting your money and you don't care, fine, you know? But if you know, I mean, I would rather that not be the case, you know, because not every woman just gonna be like, oh, really, that's how you doing it, and leave like I would. Like, oh, girl, look, I ain't about to argue with you or him. Have him, okay? Please believe he gonna regret this, okay? You know, but, you know, because some of these women like, what? You cheating on my man? They rather pull out the pallets on you, baby. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know, you just got to make sure he is out of this relationship. He being out of this relationship, especially if he got kids. Talk to the mama. Try to, you know, if she on the phone, yap, you know, because you never know how we feeling at the time, especially if you know you had a nasty ass man. You know, you ain't gonna want to talk to him. You like, ain't nothing gonna want you but some nasty ass, funky ass, filthy ass, lazy ass piece of shit. I don't want this bitch calling me. You know, like, what? No. Believe me, I'm the best you ever had. So if somebody else touching you, I know she ain't got nothing on me. Okay. And the best you gonna ever get, because your standards, the way nothing about you is on point. Okay. You need a woman to keep your head above water, which all men need women, you know, seriously, to keep their head above water. But no, you should at least be able to stand healthy on your own, you know, before you get into another relationship, you know, as a man. Stand healthy on your own. Stand providing for yourself on your own, you know, especially if she got kids. How are you going to be able to raise that family? How are you going to be able to lead that family, guide that family? Yes, she could be your backbone, but like, how are you, I mean, how's your mind stable enough to not touch on her children? You know what I mean? But anyways, guys, ciao for now. Talk to you later. Mwah.